Next 6. Narayana Naraha Iti Sutapaha Bhavaha Drishtva Atmanaha Bhagavataha Yama Avalopam Evyaha Tu Ananga Pratanaha Ananga Pranaha Atitum Na Shekuhu Amasya Daksha Duhitai Janishtam Murtyam Narayana Nariti Sutapa Prabhava Nisadmano Bhagavato Niyamavalopam Evyastvaranga Pratana Gatitum Nasheku Anamasya Daksha Duhitaya Najishtamurtyam Narayana Nariti Svatapa Bhava Nisadmano Bhagavato Niyamavalopam Evyastvaranga Pratana Gatitum Nasheku Dharmasya Daksha Duhitari Janishtam Murtyam Narayana Narita Iti Svatapa Prabhavaha Visvatmano Bhagavato Niyamavalopam Devyastvaranga Pratanagatitun Nashekuhu
Dharmasya Daksha Hitarya Nishtamurtyam Narayano Narayiti Svatapa Prabhavaha Drisvatmano Bhagavato Niyamava Lopang Devyasvananga Pritanagatitang Nashekuhu
Dharmasya Daksha Duhitarya Najishtamurtyam Narayano Nara Iti Svatapa Prabhavaha Drishvatmano Bhagavato Niyamavalopam Devyastvananga Pratanagatitум Nasheku
Dharmasya daksha duhitarya ajinishta murtyam. Narayano nara iti swatapa prabhavaha. Drishvatmano bhagavato niyamavalopam. Devyastvananga pritana gatitum nashekuhu.
Dharmasya daksha duitarya janistamurtam. Narayano nara iti swatapa prabhava. Tistatmano bhagavato niyamavalopam. Devyastvananga pratanagatitam nasheku.
Dharmasya daksha duhitarya ananista murtyam. Narayano naraiti swatapa prabhava. Dristvatmano bhagavato nivamaya lopam. Devyastu ananga ratana gatitam nasekam.
Tanga pratinagatitam.
Dharmasya of Dharma, the controller of religious principles. Daksha, one of the Prajapatis. Vitari, unto the daughter. Ajanishta took birth. Murtyam, of the name Murti. Narayana, Naraha, Nara, Iti, thus. Swatapaha, personal penances. Prabhava, strength. Drishtva, by seeing. Atmanaha, of his own. Bhagavataha, of the personality of Godhead. Nima avalopam, breaking the vow. Devyaha, celestial beauties. Two, but. Ananga pratanaha, companion of Cupid. Gatitum, to happen. No, never. Shekahu, made possible. Translation. To exhibit his personal way of austerity and penance, he appeared in twin forms as Narayana and Nara in the womb of Murti, the wife of Dharma and the daughter of Daksha. Celestial beauties, the companions of Cupid, went to try to break his vows, but they were unsuccessful. For they saw that many beauties like them, or emanating from him, personality of God. Purport?
The Lord, being the source of everything that be, is the origin of all austerities and penances also. Great vows of austerity are undertaken by sages to achieve success and self-realization. Human life is meant for such tapasya, with the great vow of celibacy or brahmacharya. In the rigid life of tapasya, there is no place for the association of women, and because human life is meant for tapasya, for self-realization, factual human civilization, as conceived by the system of Sanatana Dharma, or the school of forecasts and four orders of life, prescribe rigid dissociation from women in three stages of life. In the order of gradual cultural development.
Disassociation.
Oh, disassociation, yes. From women in three stages of life. In the order of gradual cultural development, one's life may be divided into four divisions: celibacy, household life, retirement, and renunciation. During the first stage of life, up to 25 years of age, a man may be trained as a brahmachari under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Just to understand that woman is the real binding force in material existence. If one wants to get freedom from the material bondage of conditional life, he must get free from the attraction for the form of woman. Woman, or the fair sex, is the enchanting principle for the living entities, and the male form, especially in the human being, is meant for self-realization. The whole world is moving under the spell of womanly attraction, and as soon as a man becomes united with a woman, he at once becomes a victim of material bondage under a tight knot. The desires for lording it over the material world under the intoxication of a false sense of lordship specifically begin just after the man's unification with the woman. The desires for acquiring a house, possessing land, having children, and becoming prominent in society, the affection for community and the place of birth, and the hankering for wealth, which are all like phantasmagoria or illusory dreams, encumber a human being, and he is thus impeded in his progress towards self-realization. The real aim of life. The brahmachari, or a boy from age of 5 years, the brahmachari, or a boy from the age of 5 years, especially from the higher castes, namely from the scholarly parents, the brahmanas, the administrative parents, the kshatriyas, or the mercantile or productive parents, the vaishyas, is trained until 25 years of age, under the care of a bona fide guru or teacher, and under strict observance of discipline. He comes to understand the values of life, along with taking specific training for a livelihood. The brahmachari is then allowed to go home and enter household life and get married to a suitable woman. But there are many brahmacharis who do not go home to become householders, but continue the life of Naishtika brahmacharis without any connection with women. They accept the order of sannyas, or the renounced order of life, knowing well that combination with women is an unnecessary burden that checks self-realization. Since sex desire is very strong at a certain stage of life, the guru may allow the brahmachari to marry. This license is given to a brahmachari who is unable to continue the way of Naishtika brahmachari, and such discriminations are possible for the bona fide guru. A program of so-called family planning is needed. The householder who associates with women under scriptural restrictions after a thorough training of brahmacharya cannot be a householder like cats and dogs. Such a householder, after 50 years of age, would retire from the association of women as a vanaprast to be trained to live alone without the association of women. When the practice is complete, the same retired householder becomes a sannyasi, strictly separate from women, even from his married life. Studying the whole scheme of disassociation from woman, it appears that a woman is a stumbling block for self-realization, and the Lord appeared as Narayana to teach the principle of womanly disassociation with a vow in life. The demigods, being envious of the austere life of the rigid brahmacharis, would try to cause them to break their vows by dispatching soldiers of Cupid. But in the case of the Lord, it became an unsuccessful attempt when the celestial beauties saw that the Lord can produce innumerable such beauties by his mystic internal potency, and that there was consequently no need to be attracted by others externally. There is a common proverb that a confectioner is never attracted by sweetmeats. The confectioner, who is always manufacturing sweetmeats, has very little desire to eat them. Similarly, the Lord, by his pleasure potency, can produce innumerable spiritual beauties and not be the least attracted by the false beauties of material creation. One who does not know alleges foolishly that Lord Krishna enjoyed women in his Rasa Leela in Vrindavan, or with his 16,000 married wives at Dwarka.
Yes. Narayan is twin. It's one incarnation appearing two forms. Narayan, Arjuna and Krishna, formerly Narayan. That's explained all throughout the Mahabharata. They're not ordinary. When Arjuna and Krishna are together, Narayan, and that means the Supreme Personality of Godhead can do anything. He's certainly not attracted by anything material, like ordinary women. So that was foolish for Cupid or someone to try to think that they could captivate the Supreme Personality of Godhead by ordinary women, by the forms of ordinary women. It may be difficult for everyone else. Not maybe, it is. Even Lord Shiva, although Lord Shiva conquered Cupid in one sense, he banished Cupid because Cupid tried to break his vows also. And he was successful in making Lord Shiva agitated. And Lord Shiva was not pleased. He said, I shouldn't be agitated like this, but I'm agitated. So who's doing this? And as he understood it was Cupid, so he burned him to ashes with his glance. And so in one sense, it said that he conquered over Cupid, but he couldn't conquer over anger. That means anger is even more acute than lust. But she was able to conquer over lust but not anger. So, but in the case of Lord Vishnu, Narayana, there's no question of being tempted by either lust or anger. Lord is never overwhelmed by lust or anger. If you try to think of some case, then you could say, well, 16,000 wives, must have been some lust there. He didn't need so many wives. That must be excessive. No, what might appear to be excessive for an ordinary person, but is not applicable to the Lord, because there's no material desires at all. He doesn't even have a slight bit of material desire. What to speak of a great deal of material desire. Even if he had 16 trillion wives, it wouldn't be excessive. And there would be no lust. Someone might try to reason, well, obviously, if he had that many wives, 16 trillion, there would have to be some lust. No. Because his enjoyment is on a different level. He doesn't enjoy material things. There's no, what does that sound? That's this class or another class? Oh. So, and Rasalila also, they make an offense when persons try to accuse Krishna of having lusty affairs with the gopis. That's very offensive. Therefore, they're advised not to approach that topic prematurely. If one tries to approach the subject of Krishna's private pastimes, internal pastimes, then he'll make an offense, very serious offense. Because he can't understand. An ordinary person thinks, Atmanam Manjate Jagat. He thinks that everyone else thinks like me. And he thinks that if I had so many beautiful women, I would certainly be able to enjoy them. So then he thinks God must be like him. But God is not like us. God is completely different, completely transcendental. There's nothing good or bad. You can't say that God does something good or bad even. It's because it's beyond good or bad. It's transcendental. If we say good or bad, then we're dealing with duality. Everything that God does is transcendental. Every word he speaks, every sound he makes with his flute, every decision he makes, even every turn he makes when he's driving the chariot of Arjuna. Every one of those turns, he's making the horses turn. Sometimes the chariot goes forward, sometimes backwards. He was the best at that also. Therefore, it was decided that it was known because Krishna said he would participate in the battle not as a warrior, but as he would be there, but he wouldn't fight, wouldn't pick up weapons. He agreed to act as a chariot driver for Arjuna. And he was such a good chariot driver that nobody could really equal him. There was one person, Shalya, I think his name was. He was very famous also, almost as famous as Krishna. And so it was considered that because in the ultimate issue, there's going to be a showdown between Arjuna and Karna, because they're of equal value, equal fighting ability. That's why they wouldn't allow Karna to participate in the Swayamvara ceremony of Draupadi, because that was shooting the eye, hitting the eye in the needle, hitting the eye of a fish while it's hung up on the top of the arena, while looking not at it directly. One had to look at the reflection and then shoot. He did that, Arjuna, but Karna could also have done that. So therefore, it was suggested better not allow him to participate. So he wasn't allowed to participate, but he became very angry because of that. They wouldn't let, because of his birth. Supposedly, it wasn't known what his birth was because no one knew who his mother was or father. A few people knew, but they didn't tell. But the general people didn't know. Anyway, since it was decided there would be a showdown in the ultimate issue on the Battle of Kurukshetra, and the only person who would be able to come close to Krishna in the ability to drive a chariot would be the Shalya. And so it was told in the beginning that he should do that when he drives the chariot, but he should also speak words that are disagreeable to Karna. Even though he's driving his chariot for him, this would be a favor he would do for Yudhishthira. And he did it, and it helped to demoralize Karna so he could be defeated. Anyway, my point was that even when Krishna drives a chariot, every single move he makes is transcendental. There's no material moves, no material thoughts, no material actions. Some might say, well then, how can he interact with the sun, with the water, with the air, with the earth, and not be affected by matter? If he's coming in contact with all these elements that are material, why isn't he affected by them? And why would he only be not affected by the beauty of a woman rather than the beauty of a flower or something like that? No, we can't understand God like this. If we try to understand God through our thinking abilities, through our analysis capacity, then we end up like the poor scientists and philosophers trying to figure out how God works. How can he, why does he do this? And then they think, well, he obviously wouldn't do that. Why would he make tsunamis that cause thousands of people to die if he's all good? Obviously there's some disconnect here. And so they discount God as a possibility. And they feel they have every right to do so because from the point of view of logic and human sentiment, there could be no God who has such qualities. But again, they're baffled because Moga Shamoga are. They're always baffled by everything they try to do because they can't. God cannot be understood this way. The only way to understand God is to surrender on his terms. This was discussed, this was told to Duryodhana also. He wanted to try to figure out how to entice Krishna with giving him nice, beautiful gifts and letting him stay in the best palace. And they thought then he'll be on their side and he'll be pleased by that. But Duryodhana, he'll not be pleased by anything like that. He's not pleased by material things. He's only pleased by devotional service. That's what pleases him. Patram pushpam param toyam rame bhaktyagapa. If one's offered with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, Krishna accepts it. He doesn't need leaves, he doesn't need food, fruits, he doesn't need anything. He doesn't need women. So then why, if he didn't need women, why did Satyajit give away his daughter, Satyabhama? Why he gave her as a gift? Because he felt he had made an offense to Krishna. He accused him of stealing a Shamataka jewel. And that was a great offense because Krishna doesn't like to be just defamed in that way. First of all, it wasn't true. So he went out to prove that it wasn't he who killed Satyajit to get the jewel. But no, the father, Satyajit, he gave the daughter as a gift to Krishna to please him. That was the best thing he had. She Shamataka jewel was very great, but actually Satchitabhama was more brilliant than the jewel. And so that was the best thing that the father had to give. And he gave it, even though he had promised her hand to be given to many other kshatriyas, still he decided, I'll give it to Krishna. I'll give her to Krishna. And Krishna appreciated that because it was done with some desire to please him. Even if one does something to please Krishna, not purely out of love for Krishna, even if he's mixing it up with his own expectations, still Krishna accepts something is given. If it's given purely, that's best. But even if it's given with some motives, mixed motives, yeyatamam prapajate tangstataiva vijamyam. I surrender to them. I reward them accordingly. However much they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. And that's why the gopis were informed by Krishna that I cannot repay my debt to you because you served me so purely without any motives. There's nothing I have to repay you. I'm a debtor. Because one who loves Krishna fully like that, he can never repay that. At least he doesn't feel he can pay that debt. So understanding Krishna, God, that's also a great thing to be able to understand God. That's the greatest secret, the greatest mystery. You see that all the scientists and philosophers are all, for thousands of years, they're trying to figure out what's the secret of life? Why is it happening and how? If there's God, what's he like? Why is he? They're trying to figure out all these great secrets, mystery. That's got to be the greatest mystery, God. But you'll never understand him that way, just by your own speculation. Krishna says, Jopi sanavyamam bhutaram ishwaropi san vichim swamadisa amavam maya. Because you're my devotee, bhaktosi me sakacheti rahasyam hedarutamam. Because you're my devotee as well as my friend, I can reveal this transcendental mystery to you. Krishna only agrees to reveal this mystery to his devotees, not anyone else. No matter how much money you give or how much you try to frighten him by threats, not influenced. He's only influenced by love. Bhaktyama mamijanatila yavanashasmi tattva. In order to understand Krishna, God, one has to engage in bhakti. The great mystery. Great mystery is solved if we listen to Krishna himself. That was what Vidura was telling Duryodhana. He will not be pleased by any amount of gifts you give him. The only way you can please him is to do what he says. If he tells you to do something and you do it, he'll be pleased with you. And then you'll get everything. So that's how to approach God, is to do on his terms what he wants. Sometimes we think, well, what should I do? How can I please Krishna? How can I make advancement? How can I become happy? All these things that we want. You just have to try your best to do the best that you possibly can to please him. And how do we please him? He says, you please me by pleasing my devotee. One who claims to be my devotee, I don't accept him as my devotee. One is a devotee of my devotee. So it's easier that way. Try to please the devotee of Krishna. For example, like Prabhupada. Prabhupada is such a great devotee of Krishna. And you may say it's not so difficult to please Prabhupada. Prabhupada, he used to say about his own spiritual master, he said, my Guru Maharaj, if someone would go out and take out these, they had these little magazine with the harmonist, was it? And it cost only a few paisa. Paisa means less than pennies. And they would collect a few paisa and come back. And Bhaktisiddhanta would be so pleased with them. All they just brought in a few paisa. He was so satisfied because they had gone out and distributed that. So if you can please Bhaktisiddhanta by doing that, might be difficult for us to please Bhaktisiddhanta because our culture is different back style. But Prabhupada made it very simple. He went everywhere in the world practically and said, just, yes, here, just spread Krishna consciousness here. Just distribute it. Just distribute this knowledge here. Chant Hare Krishna here. And then you please Krishna. Or he would say, if you distribute these books, my Guru Maharaj will be much more pleased with you. He'll bestow his blessings much more on you than myself. And he gave the example that the grandfather is always more liberal with the grandson than the father. When the grandfather comes, he gives all kinds of gifts. Very liberal. The grandfather is more merciful. You get the blessings of the grandfather. That's really something. But it's not difficult. It's difficult because we have this Duryodhana tendency. This obstinate, dog's obstinacy. Krishna, tell him exactly what he should do. Make friends with the Pandavas. They're such wonderful. They'll never do anything wrong to you. Yudhishthira will never harm you. He'll never cheat you. He'll protect you. Everyone told, not only Krishna, Bhishma, Drona, Vyasadeva, everyone told Duryodhana. They'll never cheat. Yudhishthira and the Pandavas are pure souls. But no, he wanted to be the supreme himself. So then, not possible. So obstinate, wouldn't take good advice, then has to suffer. So this is our situation. If we're so obstinate, we won't take good advice. We just have to keep trying. Try to do our best service we can. Krishna doesn't need our service. But if we try as best we can, and we try to please our direct spiritual master, and that he will give his blessings so that we can please his spiritual. And this way, blessings go up. And if Krishna is pleased and whole the civic succession is pleased, everyone will be satisfied. And if we're satisfied, then we can do service for others. We can help them also. So Narayan, just to conclude, it's described there's only one person who's not affected by lust in this world, and that's Narayan. This incarnation is so glorious. And we should follow, as Prabhupada points out in the purport. The Varnashram system is devised by Krishna primarily with the idea in mind of bringing a high level of chastity to the human populace, especially those in the male human form. They have a responsibility to practice this type of celibacy. But the women also, it's not just the men. Women also have no opportunity for mixing with other than their husbands. So it's equally stringent for both parties. Everyone has because the idea is human form of life is an opportunity to become pure devotees, to go back to Godhead, to get free from all strife forever. So it's a great reward. Therefore, the task is also great. It's a great accomplishment. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.